Oseo.
Oseo.
That's a Cherokee greeting, and then wave the great feather for the good of it. Yes. Today I'm continuing from somewhat last week, the end of last week, about woman and her story for the month of March. That's what I'm going to title it, Woman, Her Story. And I'm going to start right here with this centerpiece. This is my drawing, so I can focus on that. And I'm going to deliver a piece that actually go with that. It's called The Liberation of the Womb. The awakening of its secondary function. The primary function is reproduction. The secondary function is evolution. The womb's capacity to process direct knowledge, to apprehend the senses and understand without the previous socialized interpretations. To transform from women who are socialized to reproduce into beings capable of evolving their links with the energetic flows in the universe. Women, because they have a womb, are so versatile, so individualistic in their ability to be conscious of this vitally directed, but maybe are unaware of their ability only because there is no longer anyone to point it out to them that it's natural for them to know it. The totality of the human is an instrument of perception. The awakening of her womb's second function makes her womb the perceiving vessel when it's detracted from the reproductive cycle. The vision is that we are actually perceivers, to become the vessel of perception, and that woman can transform her understanding of the sympathetic resonance to her womb as a consciousness that will comprehend, a consciousness that will only be comprehended by women, and it cannot become the formalized knowledge of the world. So that's my way of expressing that, everything that you just read. And we'll take that and go up there to a diagonal up there. This is a loop of sweetgrass. I used braided sweetgrass to illustrate this. This reckoning of this, we're kind of saying reckoning as the early, or if not the earliest, way of expressing in a symbolic form who we're talking about, the primal feminine, So we can call her here, the Devi Bhagavatam. And with that, I can say that the word goddess is not the right word to be using with all of this subject, because in using the word goddess, then there's making a tacit consent, to the patriarchal authority that abrogated the rights of the mother. And I think the next best word I would use is queen. The word queen comes from quicken, to quicken life. In Sanskrit, that's jani, meaning the feminine principle of origination. So I'll try to stick with queen in this talk that I'm doing now. So I can just move over one to my painting here. And this is a painting that I've replicated accurately. It's from southern Africa, and it was in the women's care clinic here in San Diego for a very long time. So many women did actually get to see it. Claudia was the manager there of that clinic, and Tony Atkins was the director, who is now a candidate for the state governor. And I reckon here that who this is the queen of the forest, Shishti, the queen of the forest. And women who wanted to, we'll say, venerate her would walk in the forest holding an arrow in their hand and a fan, and harvest leaves and harvest roots and like that, you know, as a way of, say, venerate her. So that was from Woman Care. Then you move over here to the next picture. This is another one that I've replicated. This is a Hopi painting or drawing on a wall somewhere. I don't quite remember. It's been quite a while ago. But I know that it's a Hopi maiden, we'll say, because of the whorls, hair whorls on the side of her head here. And that I had mentioned before, that in the world of DNA, there is also, along with that, what's called the chromosome count. And the chromosome count also includes what they call the black factor. And the black factor has two locations, and one is South India, the southern India, and the Nile. The Hopi are Africans. They're Africans, and here, this illustration. I was artist in residence, you know, in the public school classroom in Nevada, and Vivian Olds was the teacher I was in. And there was a little girl there, I think it was 3rd or 4th grade, and apparently she was of mixed parentage, and she was a foster child, and she was having some kind of difficulties somehow in her foster home. And I showed her this painting, and she really took it in, and somehow it settled something for her. She really got along with it, and eventually her mother came and told me, well, whatever you did, you know, really was good for my foster daughter. So that's a very good one. And come right down below it. This is to illustrate what we call in that culture Kachina. This is a Kachina. It's called in English Crow Mother. And actually it is the spirit of the helmet of Athena. Athena is the Greek name for Nith. That is the Egyptian name for her. So that's how we can see this relations moving here. And we move right down here into this picture here. This is pretty significant to me. I had signed up for the art history of India, and when I came into the lecture hall, this picture was up on the screen. And of course, subsequently I learned what it was about, but it was so significant to me. She has stayed with me for a long time here. But this is from what we're calling the Indus Valley civilization. The Indus River runs from north to south. Where now Pakistan is, that's where the Indus River is. And in modern times, some ancient ruins of cities were found there, Mohenjo-daro and Harappa there. And excavations, I think probably, are still going on there. Very remarkable finds of an ancient culture of 5,000 years ago, we would say now, in the very western part of India. And of many things that were found there, definitely a culture of the mother or the feminine. And this is one of those figures, appears to be a bronze casting, and she's wearing her whole arm is heavy with metal bracelets, and she's very carefully holding a cup. And this would identify her as what they call in India the Grama Devata. She is a village mother, but her youthful or nubile appearance would say she, in this sense, represents Mother Earth as being young and vital, and her vulva is not natural. It looks like a mask or an apron, to emphasize her femininity there. It looks like her pendants look like 3 seeds from a plant there. So that's a very good one to see. And come over here, This is my painting. Again, I've replicated this from an artifact. The artifact, I saw a photograph of this. It appears to be, painted on a square rock or brick or something like that. And it is ostensibly of Athena. The head on the artifact was hard to make out. So this head actually I modeled on, there was a young woman coming to our performances at Twigs who was Greek. So I actually modeled my face on this of her for Athena. Again, Athena is a Greek name. And this shape that she is in symbolizes the bivalve mollusk. That's a seashell. And why that she would be symbolized in this way? Well, she's known as parthenogenic. And in Athens, the huge monument that overlooks Athens is called the Parthenon. That is, the place of her. There was once a statue in there of her. So she's parthenogenic. And what the choice of this mollusk is that I learned that this mollusk, retains her eggs and broods them within her. So I would judge that these shapes fall in here look like they could be her eggs, and then here is, a vulva symbol in the middle of her, and her hands are in the form of an amphora, which was also another way of referring to the female. Then you can go down, right down here. This is called Sri Mantra. And the use of geometric lines and forms, is recorded from way back to the Indus Valley. And this is, a composition of triangles, we would call like that, with lotus petals around it. So this would be, without using any icon or any image, a ancient and ongoing way of representing the feminine principle. That's Sri Yantra. Now we come up here. We have lined up here like a beauty pageant. This is a pageant of ancient images of queens here. And let's start with this one here. This is, replicated. And this is also from the Indus Valley civilization of 5,000 years ago. She could be wearing, lotuses or something like that. And then the next one here, this is from islands. There are a circle of islands, so they're called the Cyclades, south and a little bit southeast of Greece, the main country of Greece. Very many of these have been found. Nothing is known about why or for what. And this is also a museum replica. Many of them look like this. Maybe they're made out of white marble. They're all white. There is varieties of them, and some of them are actually in the shape that I had just showed you here. And I should say, mention with that, if you can just shift over here for a minute. Up in Nevada, where Pyramid Lake is, and Winnemucca Dry Lake now, there is a lot of monuments and paintings that refer to this ancient culture. Maria Gambudis, who even wrote some books on it, Claudia sent her some pictures, photos of the things up there, and she recognized them as the culture of the Great Mother that she studied and published in the Eastern Mediterranean. This is my replicating there at such a site by Pyramid Lake. There was actually two of these, much larger than my replica here on the tufa. That's the substance here. And so that site, or those places there, definitely refer to this ancient culture of the feminine, as it was also known in the Mediterranean region. So we can go back to her for a second there. So now that we've taken that in, and we'll go here to this figure. This is from Egypt. This is not a replica, this is an actual one. This is Isis or Hathor. It's called a Shawapti. Here it's carved of wood. It's amazing because how fragile it is. It only seems to have lost part of her foot. And her horns up here and like that have aged, with, I guess it's made of bronze or copper. So that's, actual very, very old Egyptian for her. Then we go over here. This one is also a museum replica. This is from that part of the world where now Israel is. And this was also in a museum exhibit here called the Copper Age. So she's reckoned to be 7,000 years ago. And you can see kind of how she's made. And so this refers to, or you can say stands for, that she is a unity of parts. When I was in Mexico as a student, I saw that there were people still making things that resembled this. I even had one at one time there. So now we can go to this one. This is, really like a prize for me. This is from India. It's from very southern India. It's called Tamil Nadu. It is ostensibly Parvati, but it's not the Parvati of the Hindu. This is a non-Hindu Parvati. She's wearing a leaf skirt, and very tellingly, her hair like this and wrapped in a red cloth. She is wearing the hairstyle of a yoga. She is a yoga. Then I have to mention, Parvati is usually rendered like something like daughter of the mountain. In Hindu, she has been totally disfigured, totally turned into something else, a very domestic housewife of Mr. Shiva and a mother of a malformed son of an elephant head. And the stories about her are totally spurious. So she must be a very, very powerful, important, ancient queen of non-Aryan people in Tamil Nadu. I would reckon her name would be something like Kamakaya. So she also had supernatural powers. So much has gone into suppressing her and disfiguring her, I call it, that to find this and have her teach to me who she really is really wonderful. I can go to this next one here. This is from Japan. A very early culture they call Jomon. They call it Jomon because the pottery, which looks more different than anything I've ever seen in pottery, looks like they made it out of rope. In other words, Jomon means rope. And these figures, I don't know how many there are, but this is very characteristic of these female figures that look really different, kind of goggle eyes, and they do have breasts like that. So this is also a figure of her before people from Asia, Korea, China, or whatever, or Mongolians entered into that island. So that's it was being called that. And then this next one here, there in the Indus Valley civilization that's being excavated, that I keep referring to, a lot of things have been found, and one of these things that they find that they describe as these carved seals. They're in some kind of a soft stone. They're very finely and delicately etched, carved like that. There's quite a lot of them, and a lot of what scholars see in that are things that infer to much later in India in the Hinduism here. And this one here, this is showing, this is a woman, there's the body of a tiger, and this is a neem tree, a medicinal tree. There appears to be a sequence in the seals that begins with the woman in the tree. She's in the tree and her arm is outstretched and she's beckoning to the tiger over here. Then it comes that she's down on the ground with the tiger, and they look like they're kind of dancing. She has horns and the tiger has horns. And then here somehow she and the tiger have merged together. So in later iconography in the Hinduism, you do have a Devi, riding a tiger, Durga, like that. So it does seem to have some continuation there in the later culture of India. Then we can go up here. This is an ex voto picture for the character Shiva. Shiva is a composite. This would be, modernity has settled on Shiva, who he is and how he is and everything like that. So this composite is, you can see, there's all these items all around him. So every one of these items, has a name, has a definition, and how it fits in to compose the whole thing of Shiva. Shiva and Parvati in this very spurious so-called culture of these people, or beings, has so disfigured them, they don't resemble at all who they were originally. Shiva, like Parvati, comes from a culture prior to the Hindu. The Hindu is an amalgamation of very, very many pieces, in the history of India there. But I'll just say that for the moment. And this being like that has been made into something that is unlike the original. The original name for Shiva, which means auspicious, is actually Sri Mahasukha. Sukhavati is said to be the word for her generative organ. And so he dwells in her generative organ as the seed, but in his own nature. And the name for that seed is Prajnabhaga, meaning wisdom of the womb. And so we have all of that. Again, he's drawn from various other figures that are non-Aryan, say indigenous Indian. I'll say a little more in a minute. But right next to it, I have this staff. I'll put a light on that. Here, I want you to see that. This is the staff of Naromani. In the state or country of India, in Orissa, a rural people or tribal people, the Sarva. And the culture hero who is named Sarva, he cultivates the field. And then Naromani, with a digging stick, she uproots the unwanted roots, I would say, of like weeds, like that. And this is to commemorate, that. So originally I'm saying it's a digging stick, but this is a commemorative digging stick for Naromani. Here. And so we can go down here to this feature. This is formally called, this is a very formal, like altar piece, you would have it in your home. It's called the Linga and the Yoni. I showed it last week. On the other side are the faces of Shiva with cobras around him. So this is the reverse side of that. Now, the Hinduism has totally taken in this character and totally disfigured everything about him that they're calling Shiva. Along with that,
they've made out of this ancient emblem of the woman, they've turned it into his phallus. Actually, it is the woman's clitoris. And in the natural language, it is called bakshi. Baga means vulva or womb, and bakshi means the clitoris. It is almost always rendered in black because it means that it's hidden. The word lingam for this means only this. These are marks called tripundra, and the followers of Shiva put these on their forehead, which is actually made of rarefied cow dung, turned to ashes. And so whoever is following Shiva, they'll put this on their head. What it means on this, it means that this cult, as I'm trying to get it, has appropriated this symbol for his phallus. That is totally erroneous, totally. So it's very important because the words of Bhaga or Bhaga have also been appropriated to put them together with, patriarchal gods and so forth, like that. But in a moment, I'll move this so you can see this here. This is called bandlingam. This stone, which they are little tiny to really big ones, are produced in the river, Narmada River, and it is also called the stone symbol for this being, Shiva. And the stones from the earliest time have very, very, very much been used, to express the divinity of Mother Earth. And so, keeping with that, here's one right here that I found. It's also made out of stone. So, the idea that this is a phallus in the vulva is what they're trying to say, which doesn't make sense because it's not. The phallus can go into the vulva but not come out of it, and there are various ways to render this. This is the best one that I can do. That this so-called yoni is actually her bhaga, and her clitoris is emerging from it. In this one, this is a Sanskrit Devanagari letter for the Om. So we can see that there. Then we can come over here to this illustration. In India, still, in spite of the patriarchy overlay has had so much prowess in literature and authority. It's like LA smog. It has creeped into every corner except areas in the rural, what they call the hinterland, that or tribal people. They have still continued to carry on the truer indigenous customs, knowledges, and so forth. Here in Turtle Island, called North America, the patriarchal takeover is all but totally complete. There isn't anything hardly left at all. But there in India, in the place in the country of Assam, there is a huge, like in a temple, rendering of her vulva, her bhagata, like that. And that it's kind of like they say the convergence of the Devis. This one is from up here in east of San Diego. East of San Diego, there are several, not many, of these. The name Yoni has been applied to them by the anthropologists. The name Yoni, is actually given to the anthropologists by Dr. Moriarty of San Diego University, professor of anthropology. In other words, he learned it from Tantric India, like that. So that's the way these are termed. This one here that I've replicated because it's been, very enhanced. Some of them have been enhanced, and many of them are just natural. Out here in East 94, where Tim knows, he went there, puts these on his site, is Madre Grande, where there's a large stone that's natural of this vaga. The native name, that's Kauai, for these things, Pukilai Iva'a. And Iva'a means that this is the generating power in the world that has created everything. So that's how I'm expressing that here. Now we can go over here to the next feature. This is Africa. Africa is a European name. The African name for itself is Akibulan, the mother's land here. In Western Africa, the Orisha. The Orisha are, I say, comparable to what we would say spiritual beings. So there's a world of the Orisha. And here, what I have depicted here, this is Yomoja. Yomoja is the queen, the ocean, there. And here, she has also a character like Shiva, and he's called Esu or Elegba, and he's very much like Coyote. Coyote, Shiva, Esu, they're all womb sons. They're all beings, male beings we call them, who do dwell in her generative organ and bring about the secondary function of the woman's consciousness. Here. Then we can go over there to here we're in Africa. See if I can This here is a dance swan. It's the dance swan of Sango. Sango is a cultural cult, a cultural being, a cultural cult of the Yoruba. The Yoruba in western Akibulan here. And he's carrying here in his hands, these are thunderstones. Thunderstones are prehistoric tools. Let's see if I can show you one for a minute. Can I come over here? Can you see that? These are what's called celts, and they're prehistoric. Some earlier people made them. So there in this culture, when a lightning might strike a house, then there's some specialist that comes and he looks for these because that Saga had done that. He sent that. So Sango is connected with thunder. So they're above the head there. This is a double axe. That's what it's for. So the double axe, in the Mediterranean, in the feminine culture of the Mediterranean, was also very much in evidence. Now, in modern times, contemporary women, I believe that the LGBTQ, this is their symbol. This is their symbol is the double axe. I don't know exactly what it means other than these are the contexts, for it here. You can see that? The other thing that Sango is very important for is twins. The Yoruba give birth to more twins than anybody on earth. So they have a lot of twins. It's a kind of a phenomenon. And so Sango has very much to do with the twins. He's a protector of them. and can go right above him here. This is a figure. This is Ibije. Ibije. This is the mortuary figure for a female twin. In other words, when she passed away, could be at any age. Maybe she was a girl, maybe she was a woman, like that. But she passed away, and then her mother is, recommended for what we call a carver for the Orisa. And she goes to that carver that's been recommended, and he learns from her, like her lineage, because he's going to put marks on her face for her lineage. And then he's going to go to a tree that he's going to get the wood to make the carving, and he's going to make an offering for that. And then, when he's all finished that, then the mother's going to come and ceremonially, receive this this figure like it's her baby, and she's going to put it into her wrap and carry it home. And she has a lot of directions of how to take care of this refugee, and like feeding. She has a whole regimen of things she has to do in order to bring about into this carving, into this figure, the ase. The ase is the life force. And when that finally comes about, then this is not just merely a mortuary figure for a deceased person. It is now the embodiment of the very spirit of that girl there. Now, this was probably made about 100 years ago, and the beads here are all significant. The red ones up here is for Sango. And then other beads on it here are either for the Orisha, or for Arrow to protect her. So these beads were put on here by the mother, and they're still there. And there are brass rings here. And these are kind of almost like a promise to come back, kind of like that. So that's her. And then we'll come right over here to this figure here, the Dagon. The Dagon are also a very unique people living in Mali in northwest Africa, Akibadan. And their genesis is that they have come from the star Sirius. And this figure here, this is, I have a few figures from the Dagon, and this is a female figure. I likened it to the one from India, in this sense. Protruding here, this is her navel. So various African renderings definitely emphasize the navel of the mother, and below her vulva is exposed. Now lastly, we come here to this figure here. This is a Dagon carving for the mother. The beads are actually Orisha beads for Sango. I put them on there like that. And the hat is not Dagon, it's from the Bantu, but it has the same kind of meaning. You see, it's all made with cowrie shells, like to extol the individuality of the person, like your mind. And what's really important is that here, you see this coming out of her hand is this figure, whether this is the people or whether it's her child, but it's coming from her hand like that. What?
You were in the way of it.
Oh, I'm in the way of it. So I do it again, like this?
Whatever you want to say, but nothing could be seen.
Oh. Okay, here's her hand, and the figure is coming out of her hand and rising up there. Were you able to see this one?
Yes.
Oh, okay. So that's the last figure I have, for this celebration. let's see. I'm going to do a reading to finish this with. This is written by an Indian poet, Rajiv Mohabir, is the way I'm pronouncing it. Titled The Cowherd's Son is the book, but the poem itself is called the Prayer at Navrat. This is written for the Navaratri, that is the 9 nights, of the celebration of the Devi. And he has it in sort of stanzas, and each one has an expression of the mother, is what it is all for. Mother, I hold the clay lamp until my fingers are tongues of flames that scribe in soot. I am smoke that's never stopped curling. See what smolders in the field cane, toil, or the corpse of colony. Mata, I have left again across the sea you'd never dream was mapped. I am even farther from India than you. Ama, in Hawaii, poet eats lava stones to resist genocide. Meanwhile, the Japanese set up towers and dance the electric slide. We children of the sea swell with memory. Your image on my bookshelf is a mirror. You visit to see the marks on your face painted vermilion. Are you behind those paper eyes? My mother's sorry from her mother are faded into creases. The silk disappears thread by thread, like the India ink in Aji's forearm as she wrinkled and split at the seams. Ma, I've swallowed the whole sea, and again I am from somewhere new. Again I am disappearing. Devi, if I light the lamps, will you find me? Thank you.